this lesson, okay? Because there were a whole bunch of people who weren't here today. And so I will attempt my very, very best to record every lesson. Sometimes I forget. If you see that this little thing is up here and the little red dot is not on, you can remind me. You can say, hey, Ms. Spencer, you recording? I'll be like, oh, no, I'm not. Okay. But I have 2 chances to get it right with chemistry because I teach it the block before this and this block as well. Okay? So if you miss a class, there is a channel called Lesson Videos. And there's nothing there yet because I haven't had a chance to post it, but there will be stuff there starting today after school, okay? I do not edit them. So if there is a space in the middle of the class where we are doing classwork, there will be a big blank space that if you're watching it, you'll need to fast forward through, okay? But it means it's not fancy, but it means it's done, right? So it's there if you are away. It's also there if things go too fast for you in class and you want to slow it down and watch things over again. I noticed my Chemistry 11 Enriched class, there was at least like 15 people on average who would watch the video afterwards, and it wasn't because they were away. I think they were just like, that class moves so fast that they sort of needed to see it again. So if anything moves too fast for you, you can watch the video. They're all posted up on YouTube. In addition, we have a homework channel, which again, there's nothing there yet. I will try and put our homework here, but usually I'll forget and I'll only manage to put tests up here. Generally, I'll be more likely to write it big on the middle of the board so you can see your homework, okay? And you're welcome to take your camera, take a picture of it as long as that phone goes back away afterwards, okay? We have a section for upcoming quizzes and tests, which I can also say, like, I can put a little at Chem 11, and then it will send an email notification to you that something's happening on Teams, okay? And you can check it out. Unless you have notifications turned off, in which case maybe you won't get that. I don't know. All right, so that's general homework, lesson, study techniques. We'll come back to study techniques in a moment. But right now, this is our general channel. Hello. And you're just back here now. Oh, yes. Okay, perfect. I have for you. Hey, Bob. And, oh, are you leaving now? Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. Never mind. It's all good, okay. Anyway, we were on our general channel. Mainly on the general channel, I'll just put up things that might be of interest to you, or like, oh my gosh, I forgot to let you know, blah, 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 that kind of thing. Right now, I've just got a couple of volunteer opportunities up here. So if you're interested in volunteering, if you're like kind of like, oh, I would like a science volunteering opportunity because that will look good on my college application, we've got something at Van Dusen Gardens over spring break. And there is a climate project challenge. Also looks good on a resume kind of deal. But in the general channel, the most important thing you'll come to is files. And what's in files? Your workbook is in files, okay? So if you have forgotten your workbook at school, you're trying to do the homework at home, you can be like, oh no, I forgot my workbook. Oh, but look, it's here. Okay, so the whole thing is there. The answer key is there. Also, if you just want one particular worksheet, right? So like, let's say one of today's homework is 1.3a, and you want to watch the video. So you go, okay, I'm going to go down to 1.3a. And there is a link here. Okay. And so you're going to watch that video, so you can just click on the link there and it will take you to that link. The other thing is, anytime there is a video in your workbook, there will also be a QR code to take you there. So you can use your phone to go to that QR code, take you to the video. Okay? So a couple of ways of doing that. Okay, why are you still so big? You make me unhappy. That's okay. Close. There we go. All right. So those are our files. Let's just go back here. We have Unit 1 and Unit 2. I haven't put up Unit 3 because I'm still making a few last minute changes to it, but it should all go up in relatively short order. Okay? So that is Teams. And the last thing I wanted to show you on Teams is study techniques, because we have all signed up for a grade 11 senior academic elective. Yes? Elective means you chose to take it. Yes? So it will move a little bit faster than courses in the past. Like in grade 10, nobody chooses to take Science 10. You just have to. You gotta go through Science 10 to get to grade 11. Grade 11 courses tend to move a lot faster. And you want to make sure that you have some good study techniques to get the grade that you want. And one of those study techniques is called, this is my favorite one, spaced repetition. So let's go watch this little video here. Just going to grab that. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Uh-oh. And where's our test? Somewhere here. So basically, if you learn something today and we have a test on it, like, a week and a half from now or whatever the heck it's going to be, you won't know very much, right? And we want to do something to help you with that. So let's see what we can do. Okay, and in chemistry in particular, just like in math, there's a lot of math in chemistry and a lot of math-like things. One of your things that's going to be really helpful in understanding the concept is doing the practice, okay? So if you want to do well, you will do the homework. Some of you are going to need to do more than others, okay? Some people's brains are like chemistry brains. They're like, yes, I know chemistry. I love chemistry. It's all easy. There will be one or two of you like that in every class, right? And there will be people for whom chemistry is difficult. Yeah, and that's okay. Your brain is your brain. It's stronger at some things. It's not as strong at other things. But if you do the work, you will get that strong primary memory. I had a student a year or two ago who needed chemistry 11 to go into nursing. And she wanted an 80% because she needed an 80% to get into the nursing program she wanted to get into. And chemistry was not her thing, okay? She was like just right up front, she's like, oh, it's challenging for me. But number one, in class, she asked a lot of questions, okay? So she got her answers right up front. So I didn't move too quickly for her. Yes? So if I'm moving too quickly, be like, hey, slow down. I've got a question, okay? If you're too shy to do that, what can you do? Can come to flex. Or we're right at the end of the day. You can stay after class for a few minutes and ask me a few questions, okay? But make sure that you're getting that practice in, because if you don't get that practice in, initial memory is not going to be very strong. So now, if you're taking your test here, you're like, oh, I'm remembering way more than I was when I only studied it once. Okay? Okay, so this is the ideal way, is that you actually study things several times, the same concept, and then you remember things for longer once you're done it the second or third time. Okay? And that's going to get you the most bang for your buck. So he goes on to talk about a whole bunch of like ways you can do this. You can just like write it down in your book. You're like, I'm going to study this on this day and that on that day. There are some apps that will do it for you. You can watch the rest of this video if you want to. We're not going to. But I did want to say that I am trying my best to work spaced repetition into how we do this course. So you'll notice I jump around a lot. So today we're going to be doing some 1.4a, some 1.3a, and some 1.2a, which means we're going to hit section 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 so that we can come back again in another day or two and do a little bit more 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, so that by the time we get to 1.4, you haven't forgotten everything from 1.2. Does that make sense? Okay. And with that being said, let's go to our first stuff to learn, which will be on page. Oh, no, I don't want to shut it down. No, I don't want to wish to exit. No. Okay, wrong thing. Okay. And I want 8, block 8. And just in case you're wondering, your table of contents is right at the beginning. Okay, and we are going to go to 1.3c because it's a nice little review of a bunch of things that we did in grade 9 and 10 that maybe we've forgotten because it's been almost a year since we've done Science 10. You know, for some of you, that's the case. So you can say, where is 1.3c? It is on page 46. Okay, so we're going to go to page 46. And before we all start talking together, you're going to talk with your neighbors about these 4 little sections. Okay, so here's number 1. Out of those 4 things, copper, gold, salt, and sulfur, you're going to chat with your neighbors about which one is the odd one out. Okay? And then when you're done number 1, you're going to try number 2 and 3 and 4. So have a chat with your neighbors about it. You guys seem like the quiet types, but I'm really encouraging you to have a little chat about it. Discuss with each other why. Oh, the odd one out. It's the one that doesn't fit with the others. It's like 3 of these things are sort of the same and one of them's a little bit different. So yeah, 3 of these things are the same-ish and one is a little bit different. Good question. Sorry about that. Yeah, move on to the next one. Once you've done number 1, you can do number 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Make your life as easy for yourself as you can. Yeah. Don't look at the answer key. We're going to go over it. Don't worry. Don't look at the answer key. We'll discuss it. Give me a little wave when you're done so I know that you're finished. Okay, let's take a look at that first list. Who is the odd one out? Is it copper, gold, salt, or sulfur? Oh, you know what? We could vote. Okay? And I'm going to teach you some letters. This is the letter A. Okay? So you're going to show me fingers on your palm and then your thumb beside your fingers. That's the letter A. Everyone show me an A. Okay, that's an A. The letter B, put your palm up and put your thumb on your palm. That's a B. Okay, so let's go back to A, and then B, and then A, and then B, and then A, and then B. Now C is really easy. C. Okay. See, now D is a little bit tricky. You're going to take all 3 of your fingers except your pointer finger. Your pointer finger points up. Okay, so your index finger points up, and all the rest of your fingers touch your thumb. Well, one of them does, and the rest just curl around. That is a D. So let's go back to C, and then D, and then C, and then D. And now let's go back to A, B, C, D. Okay, now you are going to vote. Do you think it is A, copper, B, gold, C, salt, or D, sulfur? 5, 4, 3, 2, vote. Okay, I got a bunch of C's, I got some B's, I got a couple. Okay. C is the correct answer. It is the odd one out. Let's find out why. Copper. Does anyone remember the symbol for copper? Cu. And that is a capital C and a lowercase u. Copper is an, and I'm going to put an E here. E stands for, anyone want to take a guess? E stands for element. Okay, E stands for element. And elements, their symbols always start with a capital letter, and the second letter always has to be lowercase. Okay? So, capital letter, lowercase. So that is an E element. If E stands for element, what do you think the other letter will be? C for? Oh, and by the way, my pen just does that. It does weird things from time to time. So just get used to me going, oh, stupid pen. Okay, that'll happen a lot. C stands for compound. So copper is an element. Gold, what is the symbol for gold? AU, capital A, lowercase u. And don't worry, if you don't know the symbols, you will all be given a periodic table at some point and you'll just be able to look at it, okay? Now, does anyone know the formula for salt? NaCl. And that's a capital Na, capital N, little a, yes. Pardon me, there are many types of salts. You're absolutely correct. Good point. Let's assume we're talking about table salt, okay? Table salt, the stuff you eat. NaCl. Okay, that's our most common salt that we come across in our daily lives, okay? But yes, there are absolutely, any ionic compound is a salt, okay? And sulfur, what is the symbol for sulfur? Sulfur is just S. And one thing I want you to take note of, sulfur is spelled with a PH here, but you can also spell it with an F. Either are okay. The F is actually the official way of spelling it, but all the resources in British Columbia have been made with a PH, so all the periodic tables and that all have PHs on them. So I've tried to make my resources reflect that. I would love to change them all, but that's too much work for me right now because I have like 6 workbooks for this course and 6 workbooks for my grade 9s and another 6 for my 11 enriched, and then there's a grade 12. Anyway, too many things to change them all. So you'll just have to be okay with either or. You good with that? Okay. So if we look at this, copper has 1 capital letter. Gold has 1 capital letter. NaCl has 2 capital letters. And sulfur has 1 capital letter. Anytime you have 1 capital letter, you know it is an element. Okay, so gold is an element. You can find it on the periodic table, okay? Sulfur is an element. But salt is made of 2 elements joined together. 2 elements joined together is a compound. So a compound is two or more elements joined together. Okay? And if you have two capital letters, that means you've got two or more elements joined together. And so that is a compound. Next in our list, we have rust, silver, water, and wood. Which one is the odd one out? We're going to vote in a moment. Let's review. A is like this. Everyone, A, B, C, and then D, remember, it's your pointer finger up like that. Okay, so you're going to make your choice. A, B, C, or D. Rust, silver, water, wood. 5, 4, 3, 2, vote. I got some C's, I got some B's, so we're kind of split. All right. So let's go through and figure out what everything is. Rust. Does anyone know what rust is made of? Iron oxide, yes. Okay. And there's a few formulas for it, but the most common one is Fe2O3. Notice where do those little numbers go? Do they go at the top or do they go at the bottom? Those little numbers go at the bottom. Anyone remember what those are called? That is a subscript. The prefix sub, if you go in a submarine, you have gone under the ocean, below the ocean. Yes? Submarine. So a subscript goes below script, writing, below the writing. Okay, so those little numbers tell you that there are 2 iron atoms for every how many oxygens? We have 2 iron atoms and we have how many oxygens? Everyone? Please hold up the right number of fingers. I know it's late in the day. I'm trying to maintain the energy here. Thank you very much. Okay, so there's 3. Okay, so we have iron and oxygen, iron oxide. Is that a compound or an element? Compound or element? Compound because we have 2 capital letters, we have 2 elements joined together. Silver, symbol for silver is Ag. Only 1 capital letter, it's on the periodic table, that is an element. Water. Formula for water is H subscript 2, so little lowercase 2, and then an O. 1 element or 2 elements? 2 elements, capital H, capital O. So that is a compound. Now, I don't expect you guys to know what wood is made of. In fact, I don't know exactly what wood is made of because it is made of so many different things. It's used to be living matter, right? So it was very complex. But mostly it is made of carbon in some amount, so we'll call that X. Hydrogen, so we'll call that Y because we don't know how many. And any guesses is the last one? Oxygen. Okay? And we don't know exactly how many different samples of wood will have different ratios. Okay? And is that an element or a compound? That is a compound. So who is the odd one out? The odd one out is silver. Group 3, who's the odd one out? A, helium, B, oxygen, C, plastic, or D, potassium. 5, 4, 3, 2, vote. It is indeed C, plastic. Because helium is He. That's an element. Oxygen is, anyone know the symbol for oxygen? O, but not just O. O2. Oh. There are 7 elements that we will learn all about in just a little bit that are called diatomic. What does the prefix di mean? Di means 2, so diatomic, 2 atoms. Okay, diatomic. Plastic, strangely enough, is also made of carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. Although it shouldn't be too surprising because plastics are often made from oil, like petroleum products. Okay? Where does petroleum come from? Sorry? Yeah, we have decomposed organic matter. So you have an animal, a plant, whatever, it dies, it gets buried layers upon layers upon layers, and over time, it becomes oil that you can get out of the ground. And what do we use to make most of our plastics? A lot of oil. There are other ways to make plastics as well, but that's one of them. So that's why both wood and plastic have the same general formula. Plastics can have other things in them, just like sometimes wood can have other things in it, but the most common elements in them are carbon and hydrogen and oxygen. There's some sulfur, a little bit of nitrogen, sometimes phosphorus, but mostly CHO. What is the symbol for potassium? Potassium is one of the weird ones. It's a K, okay? I think it stands for kalium. All the weird ones are kind of from Latin, okay? So sodium is natrium, iron is ferrum, and then everybody's favorite, lead, Pb, is plumbum. Isn't that awesome? Plumbum. Anyway, potassium, so that's an element. So we have 3 elements, and plastic is the compound, so plastic is the odd one out. Our last row, who is the odd one out? A, sand, B, carbon, C, bromine, or D, magnesium? 5, 4, 3, 2, vote. Indeed, it is A. Sand is actually, anyone know the composition of sand? I mean, it depends on the type of sand. Some of it, if it's made from shells, it might be a little bit different, but most of it is SiO2, silicon dioxide. Okay? SiO2. Now, silicon is a metalloid. Okay, if you look up on that periodic table up there, all those purple elements, on that one, you see the purple ones along the diagonal line? Those are metalloids. The nonmetals are in pink. Okay? Metalloids tend to bond like nonmetals do. So if we have silicon and oxygen, they are going to bond together in the same way that 2 nonmetals would bond. So let's say this was silicon dioxide. What kind of bond would that be? If you have a nonmetal and a nonmetal. Anyone remember? Covalent, okay? That's a covalent bond. Covalent bonds are really, really strong, okay? So if you have silicon dioxide and they're all attached by covalent bonds, that's what makes sand so hard and so strong. Okay? Now, this isn't actually silicon dioxide. These are all actually carbon atoms that are all attached covalently. Does anyone know what form of carbon this might be? This, no. I've got one of those though as well. Okay, that's the one you're thinking of. This one starts with a D. It's fancy and expensive. It's a diamond. Okay, so this is carbon in the form of a diamond. All covalent bonds are really strong. Covalent bonds are really strong. Covalent bonds are really strong. If these are all covalent bonds, that makes this structure very strong and hard. Okay, so you could like etch, you could do this and it would not break, it would not scratch, it would not do anything because it is so hard and so strong because of the covalent bonds, which are really strong. Okay? So we have carbon, which is just C. All right? And the reason it's just C and not like C, however many are in here, is because one diamond can be bigger than another diamond. Yes? You can have like 1,000 carbon atoms, or you can have 600 hexillion carbon atoms in a diamond, right? It varies. That's why we just write C. Bromine. Symbol for bromine is Br. But Br needs something extra. It needs a 2. It is also diatomic. Di means 2. Are these ideas coming back to you a little bit from grade 9 and 10? A little bit? Okay. Yeah. And magnesium is Mg. So we have 1, 2, 3 elements, element, 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 and SiO2 is a compound. There are many different materials in the world, but only around 120 elements. These elements can be combined in many different ways to make thousands of different compounds. Now, elements, we find them on the periodic table. They have only one capital letter, but the real thing that makes an element is that there is only one type of atom. So if you look at all those, everything in copper is a copper atom. Cu, 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 Cu. Copper is made of only copper atoms. Carbon is made of only carbon atoms, and helium is made of only helium atoms. Don't turn the page yet. We're going to do a couple little things here first. What state of matter is the helium? What state of matter do we have here? That is a gas. Okay, helium is a gas. Does anyone know how we do the symbol for gas? It's really easy. It's just the letter G, and we put brackets around it. So you would say we have helium, and again, this goes as a subscript, gas. Okay? Here we have some carbon. This does not look like diamond to me. This looks like charcoal or something. Okay? So you could put carbon. And what state of matter is carbon here? Actually, that's a bad example. Let's do the copper first. What state of matter is the copper here? That is a solid. Now, in a solid, are the atoms packed tightly or are they far apart? Are they packed tightly or are they far apart in a solid? Packed tightly. Okay, so they're tightly, atoms are tightly packed. This is a beaker that needs cleaning, so I'm just going to use it for my little demonstration here. Here's a solid. When I put it into a container, does it take the shape of its container or does it have a fixed shape? Fixed shape. And what do you imagine the symbol for solid is? It's an S. So we would say we have copper solid. Does the carbon look like a gas or does it look like a solid? Look at that little picture there. Gas or solid? That's a solid. And you notice that it's very organized. Solids tend to have their particles very organized. They're all like in little rows. You can see these guys are like all lined up. Okay? So in a solid, we also have organized. So this would be copper, solid. And just because we've done both solid and gas, let's also just wrap up the class by doing liquid. Okay, symbol for liquid is L. So we might have water, H2O, which is a liquid. And the atoms are tightly packed. Does water have a fixed shape or does it take the shape of its container? Takes the shape of its container. And lastly, but not leastly, gases actually completely fill their container. The atoms are far apart. And they completely fill their container. Wow, look at that timing. Your homework, 1.3a, 1.2a, they're videos. If you're like, oh my God, that's a lot, 10 minutes and 10 minutes, 2 videos, 2 minutes, it'll take you about 25 minutes to do the whole thing, okay? Yeah. I mean, I know everybody I know. I'm feeling that I was going to work with I'm like, how to I don't care if you stay in my block 4 as my block 4. Block 4. Block 3, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. We're speaking. No, you don't. Hi. Not yet, they will be out. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.